We are live.
Yay! It is Monday. We made it through the weekend. Before I forget, I am old new dude. He is.
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son.
Apparently, you had some good news for yesterday that you wanted to share with everybody.
I did?
Yeah, Casey.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yes, as I've said to Keith or KC before. KC, I live in KC, so yes, we are going to the Super Bowl.
All right. Well, getting back to the book stuff. Um, Classic Kings John 1. It's a decent chapter.
It's
More story building, world building.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe there as being a whole lot happening here so much as John commented at the end of the chapter that John took a vow.
Exactly. I got one. I only wrote one thing down, and when we get to it, I'll say what it is that stood out in the entire chapter. But as
Okay.
usual in these five streams, we start with Richard, and he will say what he saw in the chapter, and then I'll jump in with my stupid stuff. So take it away, Richard.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Sam, John called softly. The air smelled of paper and dust and years. Before him, tall wooden shelves rose up into dimness, crammed with leather-bound books and bins of ancient scrolls. A faint yellow glow filtered through the stacks from some hidden lamp. John blew out the taper he carried, preferring not to risk an open flame amidst so much old dry paper. Instead, he followed the light, wending his way down the narrow aisles beneath barrel vaulted ceilings. All in black, he was a shadow among shadows, dark of hair, long of face, gray of eye. Black moleskin gloves covered his hands. The right because it was burned, the left because the man felt half a fool wearing only one glove. So this might be a reference to Michael Jackson. I felt here's a quote. I felt that one glove was cool. Wearing two gloves seemed so ordinary, Michael explained. I guess John prefers ordinary.
There you go.
Or more likely, G.R.R. Grim is George is grumpy old man complaining about Michael Jackson style. But anyway,
And with John having something happen to his sword hand, and Jamie Lannister having something happen to his sword hand, could the glove reference mean more than we know somehow?
maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't. I mean, certainly, I do think that there's a lot of this whole hand tier symbolism going on, but what that have to do with gloves, I don't know.
Okay.
Or with George, sometimes it's multiple things, right? So yeah, it could be reference to something else. Who cares how much pickled cod they ate 600 years ago? John wondered. I would. Sam carefully replaced the scroll in the bin from which John plucked it. You can learn so much from ledgers like that. Truly, you can. It can tell you how many men were in the Night's Watch then, how they lived, what they ate. They ate food, said John, and they lived as we live. You'd be surprised. Yeah, people often underestimate change, right, and how different things used to be. Although
Yeah.
this could it could also be a cannibalism reference in terms of you'd be surprised that they ate food.
Yep. This is true.
The old bear is taking 200 seasoned men, three-quarters of them rangers. Corin Halfhand will be bringing another 100 brothers from the Shadow Tower. You'll be as safe as if you were back in your Lord Father's castle at Hornhill. Samuel Tarley managed a sad little smile. I was never very safe in my father's castle either. Sadly, Sam is correct.
Yes, he is. Man, I can't stand Randall Tarley.
Oh yeah, I still think it's kind of strange that the you would think that somebody who claims to be so devout, and George just clearly didn't think of this, but you would think that somebody who claims to be so devout would consider sacrificing their oldest son to become a septon, to be like the highest form of faithfulness, right? And
Right.
even in Winterfell, the heart of the old gods, the librarians are the septons. So
Okay.
anyway, not
Well,
not
I
the
mean,
maester, not the
what?
maester, the septons, right? Sam as a librarian would have been great, but anyway,
Yeah, I forgot what I
obviously
was
this
going to say.
plot's important and so forth, but it's something
Well,
that's always kind of struck me as the obvious solution to to his problem was to have. Of course, he probably is just as upset about that concept, right? The fact that he's so, my son will not be a servant, as
Everything that he would have chose, whether it's a Septon, Maester, or at the Night's Watch, all three of those serve.
Yeah, it doesn't really make much difference. Yep.
It's okay.
There's no shame in fear, my father told me. What matters is how we face it. I like this slightly different Ned quote on fear.
Yeah.
It's not quite as iconic as that's the only time a man can be brave is when he's afraid. But it's kind of similar. The vault opened onto one of the tunnels the brothers called the Worm Walks, winding subterranean passages that linked the keeps and towers of Castle Black under the earth. So strange that the interior of the ice wall is referred to with a term sometimes used to refer to dragons. It's almost as if our author were associating the ice wall with the ice dragon.
No, he wouldn't do that.
He'd seen a winter once when he was very young, but everyone agreed that it had been a short one and mild. This one would be different. He could feel it in his bones. I know we say characters are often wrong, but not when it comes to bad feelings. Bad feelings. The bad feelings almost always seem to be correct.
Yeah.
Sometimes it seemed to John almost a living thing with moods of its own. I wonder what living thing the ice wall could possibly be.
Oh, yeah.
It was the end of the world. We've seen this end of the world symbolism before, especially associated with the wall, but I think end of the world symbolism is always relevant to point out.
Definitely.
Let me know when we're getting to the item you wanted to jump in on. The Black Brothers had dubbed the Wanderer Mormont's torch, saying, only half in jest, that the gods must have sent it to light the old man's way through the haunted forest. The red sword, Mormont's torch. It's interesting that Gendry gets to name it in Arya's chapter.
There you go.
The seven have no power beyond the wall, he thought, but my gods will be waiting. So whether you believe the old gods are Bran, Bloodraven, the children, or the enemy, I tend to agree that they have more power up north than the seven.
Yes.
Robert was never the same after he put on that crown. Some men are like swords made for fighting. Hang them up and they go to rust. And his brothers, John asked? The armorer considered that a moment. Robert was the true steel. Stannis is pure iron, black and hard and strong, yes, but brittle, the way iron gets. He'll break before he bends. And Renly, that one, he's copper, bright and shiny, pretty to look at, but not worth all that much at the end of the day. And what metal is Robb? John did not ask. So I think Stannis is far more flexible than his reputation. And I think Renly is smart and politically savvy. For that matter, I'm not sure Robert really deserves the title of the true steel.
Yeah, this is true.
So that could be basically 0 for 3, despite how often it's quoted in the fandom.
All right. Before we get too farther, I actually left my notebook in the other room, but when talking about the wall, let me see what he's talking about, how it's got its moods and everything. Now it was a deep blue of frozen rivers, now the dirty white of old snow. And when a cloud passed before the sun, it darkened to a gray or pale gray of pitted stone. And that's always struck me as the Dany's, the great stone beast took wing, breathing shadow fire. Well, the great stone beast could easily be ice.
Well, it also goes to the whole waking dragons from stone thing too, right?
Yeah. Well, then also, I mean, waking dragons from stone would be the same as, which we believe that the ice dragon in the wall is going to be woken. Right.
Yeah. Preston was just commenting recently on, I think it was his live stream like yesterday, that there really needs to be something powering the wall. I'm like yes, there does. If only George would give us some hint at what it could be that's powering the wall.
How big was your grin?
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
He was also complaining about the early class, specifically 2 chapters from now, which we can mention when we get to the end of this one. Anyway, you bring back that uncle of yours, you hear? We will, Jon promised him. Would that they could, although, maybe someday.
Yeah.
When they entered the Solar, the raven spied them at once. Snow, the bird shrieked. It's always worth observing the intelligent words coming from the raven.
Yeah, he's got a couple of good ones in this chapter.
Yep. Thorin Smallwood, a sinewy ranger with a weak chin and a weaker mouth hidden under a thin scraggle of beard, gave Jon and Sam a cool look. He'd been one of Alistair Thorne's henchmen, and he had no love for either of them. The Lord Commander's place is at Castle Black, lording and commanding, he told Mormont, ignoring the newcomers. Seems to me. The raven flapped big black wings. Me, me, me. If you're ever Lord Commander, you may do as you please, Mormont told the ranger. But it seems to me that I have not died yet. There's some foreshadowing.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have his best. Smart birds and strong. Strong, his own bird said, preening. Strong, strong. If it happens that we're all butchered out there, I mean for my successor to know where and how we died. Okay, we get it. He's going to die.
Yeah. I always thought it is odd that when it comes to that raven, he'll say the word, and then you're told that the bird said it, and then period, end of sentence. And then the next 2 or 3 times he says it, it's a completely different sentence. And I don't understand why he separated the 2 sentences. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, he could have said the raven, the raven preening. The raven said strong, strong, strong. But yeah, I don't know. He kind of breaks it up.
I don't know if there's something there or.
I think it's trying to capture the concept that there's like a pause. Like he says the word and then he kind of pauses and then he says it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And so by reading it that way, you kind of in your head you hear it that way. You hear it strong, 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 right? So I think that's what he's going for.
Cool.
Why I don't know, but that seems to be the.
Hey, that's George. You never know.
Right. But that seems to be the pattern, right? I think the concept is that he's saying word, pause, word, or word.
He normally will do it 3 times. A couple of times he does it twice, and a couple of times he does it 4 times after the pause. But for the average, it's usually the word, end of sentence, and then he'll say it 3 more times. What's that got to do with anything? I don't know.
Yeah. Tarly, when I was a lad your age, my lady mother told me that if I stood about with my mouth open, a weasel was like to mistake it for his lair and run down my throat. If you have something to say it. Otherwise, beware of weasels. Beware of phrase. Foreshadowing is strong. Strong.
Oh my goodness. I love that paragraph.
I wrote this stuff before I went to bed. I kind of forgot what I wrote. Now I'm reading it. I'm finding it.
Well, I've gone back to not reading yours until we do it here, so I see it live. That way, it doesn't interfere with my reading of it. So yeah, that was freaking hilarious.
Is that boy as big a fool as he seems? The Lord Commander asked when he'd gone. Fool, the raven complained. I definitely advise against sending Sam to Renly. Yes, so there was discussion of this. This whole fool thing was that he thought about sending Sam to try and beseech Renly for additional help, and that probably would have gone well.
No, that wouldn't have gone well at all.
My sister is said to have taken a bear for her lover. I believe that before I believe one 15 feet tall. So I do like the Tormund theory.
I do too.
That he's sort of married to her. But anyway,
I wonder why she keeps the daughters and he would keep the sons, if that's true.
I don't know.
I don't either.
Some say Prince Aemon was King Daeron's true father, not Aegon the Unworthy. Be that as it may, our Aemon lacked the Dragon Knight's martial nature. He likes to say he had a slow sword but quick wits. So we've talked about this many times, but I like Aemon as the true biological father because it makes Stannis, Sansa, and Egg's family more ironic in their beliefs. No sane man wanted any blood of Aryans on the throne, and Darren's girl was a Laquid, besides being female, so they had no choice but to turn to Aemon's younger brother, Aegon, the fifth of his name. Aegon the Unlikely, they called him, born the fourth son of the fourth son. Aemon knew, and rightly, that if he remained at court, those who disliked his brother's rule would seek to use him. So he came to the wall. And here he has remained, while his brother and his brother's son and his son each reigned and died in turn, till Jaime Lannister put an end to the line of the Dragon Kings. King, croaked the raven. The bird flapped across the solar to land on Mormont's shoulder. King, it said again, strutting back and forth. He likes that word, Jon said, smiling. An easy word to say, an easy word to like. King, the bird said again. I think he means for you to have a crown, my lord. Maybe this is Bran announcing his own destiny.
Or Jon's.
Yeah, or Jon's king of the north, yeah. Tell me that none of this troubles you, Jon, and I'll name you a liar, and know I have the truth of it. Jon drew himself up, taut as a bowstring. And if it did trouble me, what might I do, bastard as I am? What will you do, Mormont, bastard as you are? Be troubled, said Jon, and keep my vows. Only until the pink letter convinces him to choose family over duty or honor.
Yeah, never say never.
And speaking of Robb, the POV that gives us eyes on him is next.
Yeah, there's something I wanted to say. With Aemon staying at the wall to where he doesn't interfere with his younger brother title to king, just in case people don't like it. Jon staying at the wall is keeping him from interfering with his younger brother. That's king, in case people don't like the Karstarks and other people not liking Robb's. If Jon was there might be some of that season 8 of Game of Thrones. We don't like this ruler, so let's go to the next one, or the one that's got a better claim. I mean,
and there's isn't there a line somewhere where Jon thinks about how it's how much he admires the idea of passing on. There's some line about admiring Aemon for passing to allow his brother to be king or whatever. It's an unusual move or something like that, and it's probably referring to the idea that Jon will do the same thing for Bran, right? And that if in the finale of Game of Thrones, Tyrion really emphasizes the trueborn, the Ned Stark's trueborn son, right? And I do think that that's going to be a huge portion of the discussion of that final council would be, well, shouldn't the trueborn son of Ned Stark be king rather than the baseborn son? And of course that the trueborn son being Jon and Bran being known as Bran the Bastard potentially. And I've always thought that there ought to be somebody known as the Bastard. If you have a character who's known as the Conqueror who unites these formerly 7 kingdoms, it always felt to me like there ought to be somebody called the Bastard, a king called the Bastard that would kind of, because William the Conqueror was also known as William the Bastard, right? So.
But the realm will not suffer a bastard sitting
right,
throne.
right, and they say that over and over again, even though it seems extremely likely that a huge portion of the kings have been bastards.
I was thinking about it last night. Speaking of Jon and kings and stuff like that, I was trying to figure out how many people in Westeros know the truth about Jon. And I was marking them down. I think Benjen knows the truth. I think Mormont, or not Mormont, but oh my goodness,
maybe
Tormund, that's Sir Willem Dustin. I think he knows. Mance Rayder knows. Corden Halfhand knew before he died. We got Howland Reed knows, and then Varys knows because he read the letter that Ned wrote in the Black Cell. That the letter that he gave to Euron, when the guy dropped the boy off and had a message. Never mind you, what the message was.
Yeah.
That message was.
We talked about that.
Yeah, it was for Jon. So I was sitting there. I'm like,
that could have been from Ned. Yep.
Yeah, there's several people.
The Blackfish, definitely. The Blackfish.
Yeah,
And
I definitely think the Blackfish.
Poster's not Poster while he's alive, right? Right now he's alive, but not. I mean, not from our perspective at the end of the fifth book, but
Right, right.
where we're at in this read through, Poster would
Well,
know.
if the message that we're talking about is the message for John, you get a phone call? I can't hear you.
Heard you say, I guess the audio. Can you hear me?
No. Can you hear me? Oh.
Well, just now beep. Just now beep.
That can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh yay!
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
If that message,
it took a second to beep.
If that message that was given to Euron was for John, saying who he is, blah blah, this gave him the whole truth, because Ned doesn't know if he's going to die or not. He's assuming that he probably will. So he wanted to be completely honest with John. The message was given to Euron by Varys. Varys read the message, but in the Riverlands, there's that message. Granted, Euron died, but I doubt it was a verbal message. Hey, tell John. It would have been a written message given to Euron by Varys that is somewhere in the Riverlands. Assuming where Euron died at. But I mean, in the back of my mind, I'm like, they already made sure to bury Euron.
Well, Littlefinger might know as well, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming he does. I'm assuming
the letter that he sent to Kat that she felt she had to burn.
Yeah, well, that puts us at some point in the books, at least 7 to 8 people knowing exactly who John is. So, I mean, I was thinking on it, I was like, man, there's a whole lot more than I originally thought that has the information of who John is.
And not necessarily all of them. You know, he could limit it more or less than that as you want, I suppose. But there's some of them sort of have to know, right? I feel like the Blackfish pretty much has to know. There's a pretty good chance that Littlefinger knows. I feel like those are pretty high probabilities. I think that in fact, I do like his he has more bastards than you do line to Ned. He has more than you for one, or whatever he says, which is especially funny if we consider that Ned has more. He has more supposedly trueborn but actual bastards than Robert does.
Anyway. I love the twists and turns of this story. I mean, it's some of it makes you laugh, some of it makes you cry, some of it makes you want to throw the book against the wall.
I mentioned that Preston was saying that he didn't like the early class chapters. He specifically doesn't like the one that's 2 chapters from now, which is Tyrion with his dinner with Janos.
Why doesn't he like that one?
It's kind of the same thing that I've kind of commented on, right? Which is that although he doesn't seem to remember the fact that Tywin specifically ordered Tyrion to get rid of Janos, right? So, but he specifically told him that that he's not getting Harrenhal. So he was specifically told to basically undo that. So that's but it's the motivation there is not it's not what the readers feel like it is, right? It's not, oh, you're the sort of person who was willing to betray Ned Stark, therefore I'm getting rid of you. It's you're a man above his station, and we will never allow you to be at the seat of kings that is the biggest and greatest castle in Westeros. It's their motivation is Tywin and Tyrion is kind of, not a good motivation, right? It's not something
Right.
we should be admiring, but it is explained, and he acts like it's not. It doesn't make any sense, and I think it does. It's just that their motivation is specifically that Harrenhal is the biggest castle in Westeros and the seat of kings, and not something that they want to be bestowing upon somebody who's lowborn, because this is a society that really does judge you mostly by your birth, right?
No.
So
Well, when you said we were talking about that chapter, I was thinking he was going, why to even have that chapter at all? Just get rid of him.
no, he just doesn't like that plot. He just doesn't like the plot of his attitude is this is a character who is willing to participate in a betrayal / coup kind of situation for your family that would otherwise have potentially lost everything in this war. All right.
Yeah.
And so he's like, how can you send a message that the sort of people that would do that you would then, send them off to the wall. And of course, once you do that, then it would make sense that you wouldn't necessarily trust him after that. And one of his other complaints is, why is he not the one that you're using as an assassin if you know that he's there? And the answer is, well, how loyal do you think he would be at that point? It turns out he is actually still loyal to the Lannisters, but
right.
But it would be reasonable for the Lannisters to be suspicious of his loyalty after they've sort of betrayed his trust, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't be loyal after that. I'd be like, forget you.
Yeah. If anything, it's kind of strange that he does stay loyal to him.
Maybe he's just hoping for a better life at the wall if he stays loyal to the Lannisters.
I guess.
All right. Cat next.
Yep.
I'm trying to see. You know where chapters Cat is?
Do I know what?
Which chapter the Cat one is?
I think it's her first. I think it's her first.
Yeah. I was just trying to figure out what it was about.
It's she says that she's going to go talk to Renly at the end, basically.
Oh yeah. He tried to get rid of her.
She tries to convince Robb to trade the girls for trade Jaime for the girls, right? And then she agrees to go treat with Renly.
Yeah. Which I think is the entire reason why Ned had to die, is to where they could not swap Jaime for Ned. Jaime has to go through his trials and tribulations, his forging.
So we've talked about how there's actually lots of things that lots of dominoes that depend upon Ned's death, right? Including John's position at the wall and so forth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the news of Ned's treason, reaching the wall, got John to lash out at Alistair, got him put in his cell that night instead of standing watch on the wall. Right. So he's there. I mean, there's so many dominoes in this story. I know.
But it's also, as you said, about Jaime and Brienne and the need for that storyline to happen as well.
Some of the stuff I just write it off as this had to happen for the author to have a story, but for there to be so many little almost didn't happen. If this didn't happen, this wouldn't have happened type situations that are on opposite sides of Westeros. It's too many. That's why I get the hidden fingers. But this Wednesday is the first Wednesday of the month for you, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. So I probably have my meeting.
All right. So Friday for Cat.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Friday we'll do Cat. I have been Old New Dude. He has been
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son.
It felt weird not having Lizzie or Lady Thistle. I know, I miss them. Well, I know. Shout out for Lady Thistle. She might have COVID. Her mother does. So, well wishes, and hopefully you and your mom feel better. Another girl, Nettles, had came back from vacation and started having a tickle in her throat. So hopefully she's doing well. The Valonqar just got over COVID. I mean, this stuff's still out there, so y'all please be careful.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of people in a small group that, because I don't know that many people. So for all of them to have something to do with the COVID is just really weird. So everybody, please stay safe. We will see y'all
Absolutely.
Friday for Cat. Richard, have a good one.
You
Y'all be
too.
good. Bye.